India Questions. Welcome once again. India Questions, Deepika Padukone. She's not only the most highly paid female actor in India today. In my book, she is India's #1 person for courage. Courage in a world where every move you make in her world, millions of people are watching her. Deepika came out to the world and spoke about her innermost crisis, that she suffers from depression. Now that is a difficult thing to do because it's a subject which in India we attach so many ridiculous and unfair and actually ignorant connotations. Very few of us understand what it really means, let alone how to handle it or treat it or just cope with depression. I must admit that when I watched Deepika speak candidly about her depression, I was deeply, deeply moved. I don't know if you're allowed to say this as a man, but I wept. And now moved even more by her strength and her commitment to help others in similar conditions. Deepika, with her parents and her sister, are here, and her doctors, here they are launching a campaign, a foundation called Live, Love, Laugh. All this is happening in the middle of Deepika's amazing career. She's about to launch a new Hollywood movie with Vin Diesel, which will soon have a huge, huge release. And in India, Deepika is, of course, a superstar. Everyone, please welcome the one and only Deepika.
Thank you.
God bless you,
Thank
Deepika.
you. Hi.
So I asked how many of them are fans, and you know they're randomly chosen. Unfortunately, all 100%. So we don't even have one critic yet. But Deepika, God bless you for doing this for all of us, because I'm sure all of you know somebody in your family, friends, yourself personally, who are going through. Is it depression? Is it a passing phase? How many of you know people in your immediate circle? That's about 80%. And you know, that is rather typical of India. And I've watched, since you spoke so bravely about it, people have begun to understand it, come out about it. Have you found that it's had a huge impact? And in my small circle it has.
Similarly, I think in my small circle it has. I think that in the last 1.5 years, when I do step out, I think the number of people who have come up to me and said they identify with what I experienced, or they identify with the feelings that I shared, or they know of people who have been who have felt similarly, or a lot of people who didn't know but understood after I explained what the feeling might be, or were aware of what they were going through but either didn't want to, were reluctant to seek help, or families were reluctant to allow them to seek help even if they were willing to seek help. And so in the last year or so, I see that change.
Yes.
I also see a huge change as far as the media is concerned. The kind of full page articles that are carried today, I can wake up today, any given day, and be sure that there will in somewhere or the other be a piece on mental health,
It's a huge
which
change.
I didn't see about even 1.5 years ago. I didn't see.
This country is coming to terms with a huge problem.
Absolutely. So I think it's a huge step forward for us in less than a year if we can achieve everything that we have. As a foundation, but also I think as a nation, I think it's a huge step forward.
It had to be tackled. We have 10%, that's 120 million people at any one time who are suffering from some form of depression.
Yes.
And over their lifetime, 1 in every 5 people, that's a lot of people in India,
Yes.
who will suffer from depression. And we
Yes.
were kind of, as you say, families are very important, friends are important, and people didn't know how to handle it and how to tackle it. So now when people meet you, they don't only talk about movies, right?
No, and I'd say, you know, it's probably more now. The number of people wanting to confess or confide or ask questions related to mental health or the interview or the experience are way more than the people who kind of, or they're like, you know, we know you because of your work, but that thing you did.
And I also find that you not only did you come out and you spoke to Barkha Dutt, and that really moved me enormously, but also you have now taken the next step. You set up this foundation.
Yes.
And you're going to make it even a bigger impact.
Yes.
In fact, we had a look at your short clip that explains the whole issue rather beautifully. Can we just show that right now?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, let's have a look.
Chirag.
Hey.
Hi.
Morning.
Breakfast, is it?
Sissy. Fresh.
Very good. Very good.
I'm going to stop throwing these parties, I swear. Super boring for me. Huh? Somebody likes Thai, somebody doesn't like Indian. I'm like, it's endless, really. How's it going with you?
It's good. Going good.
Love this bhai. मन नहीं करता है ऑफिस जाने का, but seriously. Look, I know you're not fine. I know something's bothering you, okay? You can talk
I'm
to
fine.
me.
You okay, no?
Yeah.
Bata, there's something going on.
कुछ भी नहीं है. ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं है. गाड़ी क्यों रोक रहे हैं?
Divya? Yeah? What are you not telling me?
Nothing.
What is it?
Tomboys. Like, you know, manly girls.
You're not a manly girl.
Really.
क्या चल रहा है अंदर?
मुझे दिख रहा है.
You can talk to me, Chirag.
Are you okay?
बता दे. बताने से दिल हल्का होता है.
Talk to me. There's nothing to talk about.
Can't talk about this anymore.
What's going on? What's going on? What's up? What's up? It's not good. What's up? What's up? What's going on?
डिप्रेशन दबे पांव आकर बैठ जाता है हमारे अंदर, चुपचाप अंधेरे किसी कोने में. चलो उसे जाने, पहचाने. हल्की सी भी कोई नजर छुपाए तो देखें दोबारा. थोड़ा सा भी कोई डगमगाए तो थामे दोबारा. जरा सा भी कुछ सही न लगे तो पूछें दोबारा. To know more, log on to the livelovelaughfoundation.org. परवाह है तो दोबारा पूछो.
I think it's just so like normal and every day all of us has experienced friends or family like that. I think that's the beauty of that. It really, and the fact that you should talk, that helped
Yes.
you a lot as well, right?
I think so, but I think the key thing here is also to recognize, I think for people around us, say in my case, you know, when I was struggling, for my mother to kind of feel like I was different, or to feel like when I broke down, the cry was different. I think it's important for the people around us to be, and for us as people, for all of us to just be a little more sensitive to ourselves, to our needs, to our feelings, and to the people around us. We don't expect that you'll meet a stranger on the street and help them identify depression. But I think if each one of us does our bit by being responsible towards towards ourselves and towards the people around us, I think you know, we can really help a lot of people.
Right, right, exactly.
And you know, I feel like I knew what I didn't know what I was going through. I knew I was feeling off. I knew I was feeling weird, but I didn't know any more than that. There were days I'd feel okay. There were days I wouldn't feel that great. And then so to have someone guide me and tell me that this is what it could be. Let's see a doctor. Let's seek help. So that was the intervention in my life, and maybe we can be that intervention in someone else's life.
Right, because your mother was saying that as a child you were happy-go-lucky, wonderful. So this can happen to anybody at any time.
Absolutely.
And ever since you spoke about it and looked for help, how has it been for you for the last year and a half, 2 years?
I think for me, I feel light.
Wow.
I feel liberated. And, you know, I think that's something that's always been a part of me. I think it's, you know, very often I'm asked, what promoted you to, why did you, you know, what made you speak, or what made you could have just kept quiet about it and moved on with your life. But it was such an important part of my life. It was such an important journey, and there was such a huge learning. When I recovered, I realized that I'd become a different human being. I'd become more aware of certain other things about myself, about life, about people around me. It just made me more aware.
Right, and I think the message that comes from you is that speak out, identify it, and it's curable, right?
Yes.
It's curable.
Yes.
That is a beautiful, positive message to everybody.
I did, so I would divide the whole thing into two parts. One is first understanding or identifying what it is you're feeling and what you're going through.
Right.
That's the first step. Then once you've been able to identify, I think acceptance is a huge challenge in itself, whether it's the person accepting it themselves or, you know, the family accepting it. Acceptance is a huge part of it.
Yeah. I think the other lesson you learned is that I mean, why would everybody ask, why would Deepika, she's be depressed, she's top of everything, her life is perfect. So it can happen to any of us. You don't have to have a reason. It can be something which you don't understand yet. It could be a genetic, it could be a chemical issue, it could be anything. So it can happen to anyone, is it?
Absolutely. And I think what's important is people are always looking for why. Why did this happen?
Right.
For example, there was several people who asked me, why did it happen to her?
Yeah.
Yes, she's a celebrity, but it can happen to me, it can happen to Dr. Bhatt, it can happen to anybody here. Yeah. And I think depression as an illness is very complex. Yes, there's a genetic factor, there are contextual factors in terms of the, our context, the kind of current stresses we are going through, the lifestyles we lead, the kind of foods we eat, and something which is very valuable and not spoken, the amount of sleep we get.
Right, so there are multiple factors. Shyam, but have you found a material difference in the patients before and after Deepika made this really incredibly bold move?
Absolutely, and I think this is a watershed moment when she spoke about it. Someday we'll look back at that time and say that was a pivotal moment
for India.
To change the national conversation about mental health. Now, myself and my colleagues, whoever I've spoken to across the country, tell me that in the year following the interview, more people have started to seek help. Families have become more accepting. I can tell you in my own practice, just to illustrate an example, a young man who had been struggling with this condition for 6 or 7 years. The parents didn't understand it, he didn't understand it, he was not functional, and finally he sought treatment amidst all the shame, but couldn't bring himself to proceed with treatment. Following the interview, he sought treatment, he's fully recovered, he's happy, his parents are obviously have got their son back, and we are seeing thousands of people like this across the country who, because of this conversation, are now aware and are seeking help. So it's been a tremendous change. I know we have a long way to go, but I think it's a very significant.
I was just looking, we have a question from Sandhya in the audience. Sandhya, yeah, can you just ask your question and go ahead, the mic's above you, no problem, go ahead.
Hi ma'am, my question to you is that how do you think we can demarcate depression from sudden mood swings and sad days? Like, according to you, what is the stigma attached to depression, and how can we make people...
You might get a mood swing, feel low one day, but how do you know that is a more permanent kind of issue?
How does one define sadness from depression? I wish I'd have the answer to that, but I think doctor is the right person to answer that.
No, it's important to understand that depression is not medicalization of a normal emotion. Sadness we all feel. And I think it's part of the problem, because we all feel sad, we assume we know what depression feels like. Anyone who's experienced depression will tell you that it is indescribable. It is as if your soul is in pain. The pain is constant, or more or less constant, doesn't come and go. It also affects other aspects of your functioning, like your sleep, your appetite, concentration, memory, self-esteem. You might start feeling worthless and hopeless. So it is not sadness. Although sadness can occur in depression, it's much deeper and much deeper than sadness.
I think you have said that you would wake up and just feel awful.
Yeah.
Does that happen to you now? Not at all.
No, not at all. My life has changed.
That's great.
And of course, it's knowing that I have a great support system that I have, and also caring for myself more. And I say this. I've said this a couple of times. I feel like women, especially, feel sometimes like I think there's guilt attached sometimes when women do things for themselves, because through the years, I think society has made us feel like you have to keep doing things for other people, for your family, for your work, for your friend, for your, and the minute you start...
men have no such problem.
They might.
No, they don't.
They might, but from my experience...
That's true.
I feel a lot more women having to deal with that guilt. So I think it's okay to say, to do things for yourself.
Yeah.
I think it's okay to take time out for yourself.
Exactly.
So it's a cultural change, I think, and that, I think that change has to begin. Recently someone asked me, they said, do you think social media has something to do with it? And my response to that is, we're going to keep progressing. We're going to keep, new things are going to be invented. Things around us are going to change. But the only thing that we can do in our lives is to do the things that are in your control. You have no control over the things that are not in your control. I can choose, I can't blame social media. I can choose to manage it a certain way. I can choose maybe the amount of time I spend on it, maybe the things I say on it, maybe the things I choose to read on it.
That's in your control.
That's in my control. And I think, so I don't think you can directly blame an external factor, but I think a lifestyle change is something that is within your control.